On the 7th of November 2020, the Spirit Specialist opened its door, to the public for the very first time. Just a few days after the UK went into a second lockdown, I launched a new retail business offering some of the world's most exciting spirits to a general public who basically couldn't leave the house. From day one, I always said that if I could make it to a year operating with the door still open and some money still in the bank, even if it was just a fiver, I could consider that a success. And so here we are, just a couple of weeks away from the shop's first birthday. To celebrate this anniversary, I'd like to present to you my nominations for the Spirit Specialist Spirits of the Year 2021, those particular bottles that have stood out for me personally. Every single product sold in the shop I sample before bringing it in to ensure it's of a high standard and good value to you, the customer. And given the time of year, maybe these nominations will give you some ideas for presents in the run up to Christmas, or even just a little treat for yourself. On the weekend of our first birthday, I'll upload a new video in which I announce the winners. But for now, here's the nominations for the Agave Spirit of the Year.
So here we are with the nominations for the Agave Spirits of the Year, and the reason I called it Agave Spirits as opposed to tequila is we don't just have tequila in the nominations. And the first nomination is Código Rosa Tequila. So, Código, family owned, was picked up by the CEO of Crocs, believe it or not. Prior to his involvement, was very much a family owned, through generations, very small tequila distillery that he moved nearby and really enjoyed it. Basically put together a group of people that were going to pump lots of money in to be able to sell it worldwide, and I think it's an absolutely fantastic range of tequilas, but the Rosa is the one that stands out for me because it's a little bit different to any other tequila that I've come across so far in my relatively new journey through the world of tequila and agave spirits. I've only really gotten into it in the last kind of 2.5, 3 years. Previous to that, essentially the only time I'd come across tequila was with lime and salt as a shooter with the likes of Jose Cuervo, and I just did not get on with it at all. But it was a tasting involving this that really opened my eyes to what proper, really good sipping tequila and agave spirits can offer. And the Rosa is really interesting because it's been rested in casks that have previously held California and Cabernet Sauvignon wine, which is what gives it that slightly pinky tinge. And it also introduces a lovely kind of red berry element in amongst the earthy feel of the kind of natural earthiness that tequila offers. It's a brilliant introduction to tequila because it gives you a slight sweeter, fruity note, as well as having those classic characteristics that category has. I've had a number of people that have tried it and thought, oh, you know, this is absolutely brilliant. I didn't think I liked tequila, similar to how I was as well. And that's why it's one of the nominations, because it's a superb tequila that also is quite versatile and actually introduces the category to a number of people that otherwise wouldn't necessarily touch it. Great tequila, really love it. I do rate the rest of the range as well, but this one in particular is the standout for me. And the next nomination is Estancia Racia. This is absolutely phenomenal. It's not tequila because it uses a particular type of agave and also where it is made. Very small scale. This is essentially a guy whose name I completely can't remember, so I might well put it up on the screen as a subtitle and maybe even a picture of him, who knows. That was living in New York, but his mother was originally from this particular area. So he went back and set up a agave spirit distillery. Very old school, very traditional. Interestingly, the fermentation takes place in old Jack Daniels barrels, as opposed to a big fermentation tank. It's literally old JD barrels with a cloth over the top of it to protect it from the elements. The bottles themselves, you can see the bottle, the slight green tinge here is not the liquid is clear. The green tinge is from the bottle itself, and it's because they're recycled Coca-Cola bottles, which the old style bottlers have that kind of greeny color to it. In terms of the spirit, there's an amazing complexity to this, so much so I can barely say the word. It's delicate, but there's so many different flavors going on. There's a touch of smoke, but there's also sweetness. There's loads and loads going on here. It's one of the most complex spirits I've ever come across, and it absolutely blew me away. And it really is kind of like, okay, you've got tequila, this is what other agave spirits can offer, and you know, the complexity that can be involved with it. Superb stuff. Absolutely love this. Well-deserved nomination. This was always going to be one of my spirits of the year. Yeah, if you get the chance to give it a try, because I do have some in the shop if you want to come in and try it, I do highly, highly recommend it. So the third nomination is Hoyo de Tigre Mezcal. So, it was more the bottle that kind of caught my eye when I originally saw this, but Hoyo de Tigre is associated with, it's essentially a partnership with a very well-known Mexican actor whose name I can't remember off the top of my head right now. I'll put a picture up in his name. And also the same distillery that do the Abasolo Mexican corn whiskey. And this is one of the smokiest mezcals I've ever come across. They use not an agave, it's a plant called maguey, which is like a hardier version of an agave, which gives you much more intense flavor, but it's the smokiness that's coming through this. It's the sort of thing that I'll say to people, you know, do you like tequila, do you drink mezcal, do you like peated whiskies, do you like the smoky style of whiskey? Because it very much has that pretty much full up front. It's really interesting. It's quite interesting giving it to people that are used to kind of mainstream tequilas and saying like, give this a go. You know, if you like a bit of like intensity, definitely give this a go. It's unusual, it's interesting, it's incredibly drinkable. It's almost too smoky for a margarita, but it really does take kind of tequila cocktails in a very different direction. And it looks cool as well. It's got that kind of, I always associate these bottle tops with Grolsch. But it looks the part as well. So cracking liquid and looks really cool as well. So that's obviously why it's a nomination, not just because of the bottle, clearly. And the fourth and final nomination is Storywood Speyside Anejo. So this is always a good one on the shelf because a lot of people see that and go, hang on, Speyside tequila? It's a tequila made in Scotland. No, it's not. It's a tequila that's been rested and aged, in this case, for 14 months. Although, because of the 14 on the label, I've had a couple of people go, oh, it's a 14-year-old tequila. That's impressive. No, very, very small letters under the 14. It says months. Aged for 14 months in casks that have previously held Speyside Scotch whisky. And what that does is it gives it a lovely rich character to it. So you get that kind of classic, slightly earthy, not quite acrid, but you get that kind of like earthy, almost bitter style of classic tequila. But you get a lovely rounded kind of, not quite maltiness, but there is a dark fruit element in there. A bit like the Código Rosa with the influence from the red wine casks. You do get that kind of warming, not whiskey feel, but there is a warm fruit feel to that, which takes it to another level. It's incredibly drinkable, really, really good. The Reposado is excellent too. It's been a while since I've had the Reposado because there's been a shortage in terms of supply. The 14, the Anejo probably just edges the Reposado, but both of them are absolutely fantastic. They do some other versions as well, which I'm quite tempted to get in. I've not had the chance to try, but this is an absolute cracker. As something different, as a talking point to have it on the shelf, brilliant in margaritas, absolutely fantastic, and kind of any other tequila-based cocktail, that warm fruitiness really takes it into a new level. Absolutely stunning stuff. Okay, so that's the 4 nominations for the Agave Spirits category. The final winner will be revealed at my finals review video on my 1st anniversary. So keep an eye out for that, and also have a look at the other category nominations if you fancy it. I shall see you soon. Cheers.